Hello and welcome to this special event. Of course, it's the Mail and Guardian 200 Young South Africans in partnership with Nedbank and ENCA. Thank you so much for attending. Because we're young and because we know the power of social media, please let me advise you to put your phones in silent and then, of course, continue tweeting. We want to make this event trend because of the importance of it. And the hashtag, of course, is MG200Young. So get going, guys. Tweet your selfies. I've seen some people take selfies. Your outfits look amazing, ladies. I saw one or two that I'm going to get my girlfriend to actually contact you about to get her going. Let's talk about why this event happens. Of course, it recognizes 200 young South Africans who have made an impact in society, in our country, people who we know are going to go the extra mile and become a force to be reckoned with. Of course, an indomitable human spirit, that's what you need to make it in South Africa. People who are renowned, who aspire, go beyond the borders, break trends, and set new goals for South Africa and the rest of the world. How does it work? Well, the Mail and Guardian actually asks for people to be nominated. At the start of the year is when nominations opened. They received 6,000 nominations this year, the highest ever. So it means that we have more and more young people who believe that they should actually be recognized for this achievement. What happens next? The Mail and Guardian has the very tough task of actually going through 6,000 nominations. And they don't just sit there and say, well, this person is doing his bit. You have to motivate to actually get on this list. And that's why it's so important for people to do a thorough job in actually telling the Mail and Guardian why you should make the top 200 young South Africans. Now, what we do know is going forward, this event will become more and more esteemed. Why? Not because of anyone but you. Young South Africans under 35, I'm 34, believe it or not, unlike our youth leagues, we know the cutoff age. So 35 is the actual cutoff age for the Mail and Guardian 200 Young South Africans. The Mail and Guardian, of course, believes that individuals, these people who are chosen, are not just about now. You're the future. You are the people who are going to make a difference in South Africa, and hopefully you're going to go the extra mile to make sure that all your achievements impact on someone else. It's not just about you, it's about us making a difference in our country, and that's the most important part of this. Now, I'm obviously referring to you. You are here because you have been nominated. You've made the top 300 who are actually here. We will later on announce the top 200, so nobody knows just yet whether you're actually going to make this list. So give yourself a round of applause. I think you deserve it, right? I'll stop talking because I talk for a living, and I'm so glad I'm not talking to politicians tonight. I'm talking to influencers, people who are going to listen carefully, people who are going to make a difference in our society, and people we are celebrating, because this is about celebrating young influencers in South Africa. Let's welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Khadija Patel, of course, the editor-in-chief of the Mail and Guardian, for the opening remarks.
On behalf of the Mail and Guardian, I'd like to welcome you all to this, our flagship event of the year, 200 Young South Africans. And for many of us, and indeed for all of us, it is the event that we most look forward to. Because no matter the hardship and the fights and the conflict that happens within the organization leading up to it, we always leave this event feeling empowered, inspired, grateful for the opportunities that we have. And that really is because of you, the young people among us, who never cease to remind us about the potential of every day. Not long ago, I was one of you. In 2011, I was recognized by the Mail and Guardian as one of their 200 young South Africans. And I remember being at that event in Braamfontein. That event wasn't as swish as this. I feel like I need a refund. It was a late afternoon event at Randlord's. I knew no better. I thought that was really swish. And I remember attending that event feeling overwhelmed. I felt in awe of the people that I had met that evening, the people who had come up to me congratulating me. But I also had one of the most important conversations of my career on that evening. Up until then, I had been working part-time for the Daily Maverick. And shortly before that event, the Daily Maverick had offered me a full-time position. And I was still conflicted about whether indeed I should take this position because it would mean sacrificing a lot of the freedom that had come with a freelancer's life. And I had a chat with another journalist who was recognized on that list, Natasha Joseph, and we were having this conversation about what we want to do with our futures, and I mentioned to her that I had this offer from the Daily Maverick and I didn't know what to do. And she talked me through it, right there, with cocktail in her hand, watching the sun go down over Braamfontein. In many ways, that evening changed the course of my life. It is the potential of bringing young, vibrant people together that continues to make this event worthwhile for the Mail and Guardian. Because long after we have closed the doors of this center this evening, we hope that you will go on rekindling the connections you made here this evening. Because when I look through the motivations for your nominations and indeed the profiles that we've written, I cannot but be inspired, but also just feel a little more hopeful. Because so much of my work is about poking at everything that is wrong in society. And it's important that we do that, because South Africa needs a good, independent media that is unflinching when it approaches wrongdoing. This is why the work that we do is important. But there are also moments in which we need to remind ourselves as much as we need to remind society that there is always potential to do better. And for me, young people are the embodiment of that potential. You remind us of everything that not just could be better, that is better. So, congratulations to all of you. A round of applause, please, for all of you, for everything that you do. Some of you have earned your PhDs in record time. Others are selfless with their time. And all of what you do gives us some hope for a better society. When I think about why I do what I do and what I believe the news media stands for, I believe ultimately that good journalism must empower us in the fight for justice. That ultimately is what good journalism is about. And we need support to do that. As I speak to you here this evening, the news media in South Africa, like much of the rest of the world, is in peril. And I do not say this lightly. There is a good chance that many of the household names that you grew up with, that was your first window to the rest of the world, may not exist in a very short while. And we need to bond together as a society to rally around good, independent journalism. Not because it means I stay in a job, although that would help too, but in order for news media, particularly in South Africa, to continue to be an ally in the quest for a more equal society, a more just society, a society in which a girl child born in Alex and a boy child born in Sandton have the same chance of prosperity. That is ultimately what we hope for. That is ultimately what we strive for. And this is why we look to you, young people, to help us along this journey. You are remarkable. But I would be remiss as well to not remind you of the enormity of the task ahead. And I told you that that event and being on this list in many ways did change my life. And when I speak to so many people who have previously been on this list, they will tell you about how many doors this listing opens for them. And as the Mail and Guardian, that makes us very proud. But what we as young people, and I hope I can still be qualified as young, I have a few more months that I'm still 35, so I'm going to. So yes, I'm still young. So us as young people, what we need to remember is to never stop learning. To remember that as many accolades as we collect, there is a whole world of knowledge that is outside of us. And that ultimately must fortify us every day. It must fortify us in moments of difficulty as much as it fortifies us on an evening like this when we are celebrated. We are great, but we are still learning. And it's when we cease to learn that ultimately we become arrogant. And that's what we have to guard against. For me, I've lived for a long time, and people from my newsroom will tell you that I remind them of this every now and again. I believe that humility is the outcome of knowledge. That I believe the most knowledgeable person knows how little they actually know. So in the same way, I believe that the most successful person similarly knows that the real path to prosperity is through kindness, and that we dare not forget gentleness, kindness, especially when we are confronted with people who we may think know less than us or are in a lesser position than us. Let us never forget how little we actually know. Because even when we combine everything that we know, even in this room, it still represents a small dot in the enormity of the whole world. And that's what keeps us going. That's what I hope will keep you going. Let us continue to learn. Let us continue to be kind. But for tonight, congratulations on being one of the 200 young South Africans for 2019. Welcome to this event. Have a great time. But I would hope that we can count on your support for many, many years to come. It gives me great pride when I see people's Twitter bios, for example, noting when they were included in 200 Young. But I hope that you too will remember us by subscribing to us, by reading us, by coming to our events, by calling us up when you have a story. We would love to be able to share your expertise. So on behalf of the Mail and Guardian, welcome and congratulations.